Welcome to the 80 Star Basketball channel. And so it looks like my predictions from a couple days ago was right. I think 3 videos ago or 2 videos ago, basically when I said that this was going to go for these sevens. My observation was the fact that the quality has been drying up for the Star 101 and Jordan Rookie, and it is going to, you know, that is going to build this pressure on this card, and it's playing out kind of how I thought with time, just my observations of the last couple months. And I'm kind of looking going, wow, the next PSA 7, they've kind of continually gone up, and from a couple months ago, and it's almost like that dip before the rip type thing. And I think that was it. I'm not a hype type guy. I really am not. I'm not here to hype this card. It just, to me, is all the fundamentals behind it. I don't need to hype it. It's all so blatantly obvious to me of this card. And, it's not like it takes much to figure out, and that's what my prior videos and what I said, 8 months ago when I actually bought my first copy of it. Actually, I owned one previously 7 years ago. Again, I bought it for 5,000. Everyone thought it was overpriced then. I got it and someone said, you overpaid. And I paid for an 8 that had 9.5, 9, and 9.5 subs other than centering. And now you would go, well, that's a steal. Well, my first person I told, they were like, oh, wow, you overpaid at 5,000. And I sold it a month later, and I thought I was a genius for 7K. And, and the guy, they said, oh, wow. And the same guy was like, oh, wow, he overpaid a lot. And no, it's your perception. It's a point in time. Now that would be snatched up immediately. And I understand, going at market prices and whatnot, but it just goes to show, and I've learned every time I've sold this card, it's going to keep going up, in my opinion. And, I see that this is actually just the start. I think this card is the only card, I will say this, again, I don't think that, basketball cards or sports cards in general are a good place to put money to try and make money. If you hustle and you do it right and a lot of things, of course you can. Dealers make money and whatnot, but it is not easy. And to me, with this card, it's really easy. Again, kind of just to show, some of the things that I've done in my other videos. The reason why is the fundamentals are behind it. It has almost it's almost half the pop of a 52 mantle. And, this one actually gets me almost even more. There's only, assuming there's 100 copies, but they say there's like 150 copies of the Honus Wagner. But I'm going to go with the low end. If there were 100 copies of the Honus Wagner, that means there's only 14 101s to it. That is the low population that we are dealing with, and kind of trying to show this card is going to operate differently once the demand has started to go, which I think it has, and news comes out, which it has, and the legitimacy is established, which it is. Look at this. I think the biggest thing was this Beckett issue. Everyone wants to look at PSA being the the catalyst, but that was the start. I think this Beckett issue was so much bigger than people realize, because this was essentially the only reason people say the Star 101 isn't the rookie is because Beckett established it as an XRC, and that's what everyone ran with, because Beckett was the only voice. Whatever Beckett said went, because that's all you could do back then. There was no internet. You didn't really get anything else. There was tough stuff, but that was like a very secondary thing. But Beckett's going to establish and have the voice. Well, isn't it? Didn't you think it's kind of funny that the exact same publication now basically came out and apologized? They can't come out and say it's not the XRC, because that would open up a whole ton of legal and other problematic, issues for them and credibility. This was the best that they could do, but they basically said, we got it wrong. They are real, and embrace them because they're real. So it, is a full 180 on that retraction, and I just took that and I went, wow, yep. And it was kind of what everyone, a lot of people were thinking. It came out in 84. Okay, well, that's the rookie card. And it was a licensed product that was nationally distributed. Okay. So, with this issue to me was actually the game changer more so. Everyone's just kind of looking at values. This was the collecting side, the publication saying, hey, just from even this viewpoint, this is these star cards are legitimate. So again, all these things adding up, and then kind of where you land. Here's where we land. Um, here's how is that affecting everything. I've been saying it and why I've been doing the video. So go check out my other videos. So that's just kind of my, perspective. I think that this card is our generation's Wagner and Mantle. And that's just easily how I see that. This is going to be either the 52 tops or the whatever you want to call it, but the Mantle and then the Honus Wagner. I think this is our card. It has the fundamentals of the low pop and just the odd story, and the story is what suppressed the value. And I still think it's way low to where it's going to go. So anyway, if you look at both of these, let's go on to what happened last night. So if you look at both of these, if you take the exact average, it's kind of odd, but the exact average of 32,427.6 was 30,000. So that's how actually I kind of look at it, because it does come into what do you like. And for this card, it's kind of weird because this copy was the better centered copy. And that's what, I would think would have the premium. So if we look at this copy right here, they both are actually, for this card, that is a extremely well-centered card. So the only thing I can think of is that, there's this, that little white up top, if you see the top middle kind of, there's a little extra on that edge. So that's the only kind of thing I can see that would be an argument for why this would be lower, but I wouldn't think that much of an argument. But I don't know if it's stuff, there's obviously kind of like a lot of white or whatever was in the scan. So I don't know if, if that had something to play in it. Maybe they're kind of seeing that and they don't know if that's what's the surface or not. So, that could be it, but that's really the only thing, is because all four corners have a touch of white, and then you have the white up on top. So for this other one, you'll see isn't centered as well, but still for this card, if you know this card, that's still, very well centered. And but the corners all have a touch of white, and there's even kind of a little white off to the on that thinner side onto the left side of it. Or it would be, it's right, but our left side, you can see a little white like right there in the middle. And so I don't know if that did, and this doesn't have all that the stuff on it, the dust or whatever was in the scan. So this one is, as far as the surface, is cleaner. So I don't know if it was the pictures or whatnot. So I just kind of take the average of the two. Might have even been the same buyer. So in kind of looking at these in 30K, and there's a couple places that this could go. But before I get there, I do want to go look at the one up over here on eBay right now. This one is, to me, this one is even a better copy than those two. Why? Because if you look at it, it doesn't have hardly any white. This is a fairly decent centered copy. It's not as good as the other, so that's going to come down to kind of personal preference on this card. So the centering isn't as good, but as far as the card, the scan also is much better. There's no dust on it or anything. There's no white on the edges, so the edges look pretty razor, and the corners are pretty razor. And just for me, if I were picking up a copy out of the three, this would be the one that I would get. So I'm guessing, and just kind of, to put my money where my mouth is, I've even bid on this. I'm going to be a player for this card, but probably not much to where I think it's going to go. Do I think it will exceed 30? Again, for another prediction, I do. And I would be surprised if it goes under 30, actually, and especially after the other two kind of establish that. This is a really nice copy and just kind of beast. So, and again, in talking about it, I am actually not a hype type. Again, I'm not a hype type person. I'm not trying to get this card to go up more right now. I really am not, nor will I be later. It's just, I'm not that is not my MO. I'm generally very skeptical of assets, and you have to take everything with the risk and reward. But to me, this card, I just don't see any risk. The fundamentals and the story behind it, and I just see, and it's one of those things where it has a small probability of a massive, massive reward. And I saw that months ago when I sold my third year 86 Fleer, and I kind of was looking at it and looking at all the information. I'm like, this is a third year card, and it's so expensive, and I just don't see the fundamentals backing up anything to if it were rare, then I would have continued to hold my 86 Fleer, but it is the opposite of rare. There are so many copies you can get at any time. In contrast to this card, you can't. You only have what's available to you. And, it limits you on what you can get. And I like certain things. So it's like, what am I going to pay the money for? So, in terms of where I see things going next, two different ways. One, everyone's going to see a little bit of profit and want to sell. And before I even say all this, I would say, just to appease my lawyer friends, I have a couple, and I would say, this is not financial advice. Do what you want. This is more even collecting advice. But, if you're looking at value, here's what I would do. I'm not selling, and I'm not going to sell from a collector's point of view. But even if I was doing it to try and flip, for this card, I wouldn't sell. I think this has so much further to go, and I think whoever sells, that impatience is going to be, it's going to, someone's going to take advantage of that, and they're going to buy it. And I think over time here shortly, as you'll see some copies come up, because people will take a profit, and that's natural. And, some of those people are going to be looking to buy. So, but if there is a possibility that not hardly any sellers come out, and then this price will go up pretty significantly in the short term if that's the case. However, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping I can get at least one more copy of this, and then definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. So that's kind of my take on all this. Again, what I've been reiterating for months, and to see a 50% increase in a couple of months is just to me, it's kind of like Dustin's video. It doesn't surprise me. It's just common sense. The fundamentals are there. So if you're looking to get into one, I would try before you get priced out. It's possible, and I see it's very, very probable here. What's short term? I don't know. Maybe 6 months. I'm calling short term. And long term, I think that this is going to be way above this value. And what's funny is, even on the thread, someone was mentioning, well, I think this is a 7, and was trying to argue that this was a 20K card. And I came back and said, no, this is going to be well exceed that. Well, now you have an average of 2 sales. And 2 sales, it doesn't make a trend. But from what I'm seeing in the past months, the trend's been established. Quality is getting snatched up. So that's the actual trend. And this is just furthering that. To me, this kind of solidifies the trend. But most people just look at sales. They're going to go on 130 point and look at, oh, what was the last sales? But you'll see the trend up there too. So you can look at all the data and and the stories, and make your own assessment at this point. But this has definitely got the popcorn out, and this is going to be an interesting ride. Anyway, subscribe, like, comment on the video, and then I'll see you at the next one.